Hello, everyone. Welcome to PRSSA. Tonight we have Jen Gallardo speaking with us, but first I want to go through and introduce our e-board. So my name is Kayla. I am the president.
Hi, my name is Leah. I'm the social media director.
And then I believe our vice president, John, is on the phone right now, like in our meeting via the phone right now, but he'll be joining us shortly. So I'm going to drop the attendance form in the chat. So if you need or would like credit for being here, you can fill out that form and you can get some credit from your professors for coming tonight. We also have a little event that I would like to share about. Lindsay McCluskey is a professor at SUNY Oswego. She'll be co-hosting an event, and I can drop the link to RSVP to that event as well, and that will be next Monday. So we also have our past president, one of our past presidents, Stephanie Herbert. She's co-chairing that event. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check it out. And I'm going to, and if you have any questions or comments during, just drop them in the chat and Jen or I can read them. All right, I'm gonna pass it to you, Jen.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much to PRSSA Oswego for inviting me to come talk to you all tonight. I think we have 60 minutes, but I promise not to talk for 60 minutes. So I'm shooting for around 30, and then we can do some Q&A and talk about things a little bit more if you have any questions. But I am going to kick this off. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I do not use Zoom every day. We use Microsoft Teams where I work currently. So let's see if this works. All right, are we seeing it? Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, perfect. All right, so my comms journey plus tips for the real world. Well, we'll see how far we get, but hopefully I do provide you with some good insight today. And I'll share a little bit about my background and my journey to where I am today in my career. So this is me. Hi, I'm Jen Gallardo. This is a picture of me circa 2005. And in 2005, in this picture, I was actually studying abroad. I studied in Rome, Italy. This picture was taken in Tivoli, which is right outside of Rome. There is a reason I am sharing this picture with you, and we'll come back to it later. But I attended Duquesne University, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, wanted to get away for college, and I found Duquesne. I fell in love with it. I really had a great 4 years there. I majored in integrated marketing communications and English. So I was a dual major. I was able to add the English degree on with less credits than my main major, which seemed like a good idea when I did it. But during the course of it, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But in hindsight now, I'm glad I did. I think that English degree really set me up for all of the writing and reviewing and editing I'm doing today with a lot of my communications work. So in hindsight, it was a good move, but I graduated from college in 2007, which feels like so long ago, but I swear it was like 5 years ago. So hopefully I don't date myself too much during this presentation, but I think it's inevitable knowing some of the things I'm going to share with you. But as we're moving through that, just keep in mind, part of my presentation is just about how quickly technology and digital are impacting communications and how quickly it's changing. So that's something I really want to hit on and share with you all today. So let me take you a little bit through my career path, where I've been and kind of the roles I've had throughout my career. Back in 2006, I had 2 internships. My second one was in my senior year of college. My first one was in the summer in between my junior and senior year. And the first one was at a marketing communications agency outside of Buffalo. It was a small shop, but I got a lot of experience there. A lot of research, working with a lot of different clients, which included National City Bank, which is based in the Cleveland area. And I didn't know that much about it, but they sent me to Cleveland one weekend during my internship, and National City Bank was a sponsor of the Cleveland Browns football team. And they had their training camp going on, and they had a booth set up. And I was there to run the temporary associates that they had hired to, do games and giveaways with people. So in a lot of ways, I felt unqualified because I was an intern, but it was really great experience and it was fun. It was a good thing to put on my resume and kind of live out that experience as an intern. My second internship was when I was back at school in Pittsburgh. There was a local marketing and PR agency, which actually had a couple locations across the country. It was a bigger agency in Pittsburgh, and the name of it was Mark USA. They had a division of PR, and I got to work with that team, and I really liked it. My first internship was a little more marketing based. My second one was PR, and that's really where I got to dive into PR a little bit more, pitching stories for some of their clients, doing some media relations work, putting a lot of earned clips together, which wasn't the most fun. And I'm pretty sure like robots do that all now. So that's not something you have to sit and do anymore, which is great for anybody. But that was a good experience. And I remember when I met with my manager as I was leaving that internship, one of the things she said to me, she was like, I don't know if PR is really your passion. And I think at that time I was kind of like, I don't know what my passion is, but it really was great experience. And we'll come back to talking more about internships a little bit later. But next up, when I graduated from college, I had an integrated marketing communications background. So I was looking for a marketing communications PR job back here in Buffalo. So I did have a couple of interviews, and I ended up landing a job at the Alzheimer's Association, their local chapter here in Western New York. And I was there for 5-6 years, and it was really great experience. But I will tell you wholeheartedly, when I started there, I was like, I am totally unqualified for this job. It was very intimidating coming out of college. And the reason why it was is I was the only one at the agency who did marketing and communications and PR. So although it was an amazing opportunity and I learned so much, especially at the beginning of my career, it was really hard because I didn't have anybody to turn to be like, am I doing this right? Or bounce ideas off of. And of course, like my coworkers were great, but they didn't know a lot about marketing and PR. So it was really up to me to figure out what I was doing. So part of that discussion was when I went back to Buffalo and I really didn't have contacts. I didn't have coworkers to lean on. I was kind of like, what am I going to do? Like, I need people who know what they're talking about. I need some support here. So I joined the local chapter of PRSSA, which was amazing. That was really a godsend for me. I met a lot of great people, a lot of people I am still in contact and friends with today. But I joined in 2007 and I'm still a member today. I really credit PRSSA for a lot of my career journey, which I'll talk a little bit more about after I go through my career path here. So after working at the Alzheimer's Association for a number of years, I really wanted a new opportunity. I really wanted to go to someplace where I was going to work on a team and be able to learn from others. So I started looking for a new job and I landed at Independent Health. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Independent Health, it's a local health insurance company here in the Western New York area. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Blue Cross Blue Shield or Cigna or Aetna. Independent Health is the same, and it's a really large company here in Western New York. When I was there, they had over 1,000 employees, and I'm sure it's grown since I've left there. But going to independent health was a really great move. I did get to land within that team that I was looking for. And the way that the department was structured was there was one group kind of focused more on internal communications, another group focused on external communications. And I was in that external communications team and working on a lot of communications for providers, and some of my duties included overseeing the Twitter account that Independent Health had. The social media accounts were a little dispersed at the time, and so public relations owned Twitter, so I oversaw that. But one of the initiatives I worked on when I first got there was kind of taking their communications to providers, and a lot of it was mail-based. So I took it to making it more electronic. We started a newsletter. There was a portal that providers could go to. So that wasn't that long ago, but I think like even thinking back to that, it was almost rudimentary where you think a lot of digital communications is today. So that's what I did at Independent Health. And then after Independent Health, I moved to Rich Products, which is where I am today. And I think one of the things that Independent Health really helped me set up for my job at Rich's was working within a bigger corporation. So like I said, Independent Health had over 1,000 employees. Going into Rich's, it's a global company. There's over 11,000 associates, and they're, you know, it's a totally different environment. It's huge, but Independent Health was really that building block that got me prepared to coming to Rich's. So at Rich's, when I first started, I was doing much different work than I am today, but still a lot of the same. We're a very small, lean group at Rich's. And like I said, we're global, although we focus a lot of our communications on our US and Canada business. And one place that I really didn't have a lot of experience in was internal communication, which is kind of ironic because that's really a lot of what I'm doing today. When I started at Rich's, I was doing social media, external PR, those types of things. Internal, I mean, there's always internal going on, but I kind of shifted away from that over the past couple of years, focusing really on our internal channels at Rich's and working with senior leaders and our executives and providing them with strategic communications counsel. So that's kind of where my career has taken me, and we'll get into a little bit more as we get into the discussion, but I did want to hit on professional organizations. Quickly, I will say that recently in the past year, I joined IABC, which is the International Association of Business Communicators. It's very much focused on internal communications, which, like I said, I'm doing a lot of today. So I attended their international conference, which had gone virtual. I believe it was back in May, but that was really great. And I'm leaving PRSA for last because, like I said, I credit a lot of my advancement in my career to PRSA, and I met a lot of great people who have really guided me throughout my career. And I'll tell you a little bit, you know, when I started at PRSA, it was all about the networking. I met so many people, and I was at the Alzheimer's Association. So some of those people along the way like joined committees at the Alzheimer's Association, which was great. But actually the person who ended up hiring me at Independent Health, I had known from PRSA. So I'm not sure if that really would have transpired into what it was, or an offer to work there, if I hadn't known that person within PRSA. And that also happened again when I joined Rich's. My first manager at Rich's was someone I had known for years in PRSA. We had sat on committees together, and also the head of the department I had gotten to know through PRSA as well. And I don't think, you know, possibly my job at Independent Health or Rich's would have transpired if I hadn't been a part of PRSA and really spent time networking with people, getting to know people through committee work. And so I just share that because I think it's really important for people to get involved in organizations where they can and networking. So I'll touch a little bit more on that later too, but wanted to kind of connect the dots there and why I think my involvement in PRSA was so important to where I've gotten today. So let's go back to 2005 in this photo of me in Italy. So I'll tell you a little bit of a story. Hold on, let me get a drink of water. But I share this story because one of the things when I was studying abroad that made me really mad was every time when I was studying abroad, we had a computer lab. So this was like, some people had laptops, but even I had a desktop back at college. Obviously, I didn't take it to Italy with me, but there was a computer lab set up at the college I was at. So you had to go to the computer lab if you wanted to do homework, if you wanted to write emails to your family members. And during this time was the start of the Facebook. So this probably does not look familiar to any of you, but it slightly does to me. And the reason I bring this up is every time I went to the computer lab in Italy, everybody was on the Facebook. And I was like, what is this Facebook thing? I'm like, I'm so annoyed. I just want to be able to get on my email so I can send my parents like an email or my boyfriend. And I could never get a computer because everybody was on the Facebook. And I like got so annoyed with it. I was like, I'm never getting on the Facebook. So this is what Facebook looked in 2005. And when I actually Googled the picture to put it in this presentation, I was like, I don't even like, this is crazy compared to what it is today. So I got a little enjoyment out of that. But I share this story mainly because I was so against Facebook. And once I graduated, I still didn't get on Facebook. And it was several years into my career before I took the leap of getting on Facebook. And it was mainly because I kept going to PRSA events. And people were like, you got to be on social media. You got to understand like how social media can help your organizations. And I was like, well, I can't do my job that well if I don't understand what it is. And so I share that because my stubbornness really got in my way of really learning about social media, especially in the beginning, and the tools that I would need to be a decent communicator and really help my organization understand what it meant to them, and should we be on social media? I mean, that was like the big question in the beginning, right? Like, should we even be on social media? But as we know today, like if you're not on social media, like someone else may be impersonating you, they're telling your story for you. So social media is such an integral part of business today. And it's just funny to see where we started. But I can't even Facebook here, I can't even believe that like you couldn't interact really with people compared to what it is today. It's kind of crazy. But I share that because I was so against social media. But here we are. This is a picture of Rich's new intranet, which we just launched in May. And that was really a project that I spearheaded based on a lot of research that we did with our associates at Rich's. And we really dove into this project of how can we really take our internal communications channels to the next level. So, I was at a point where I was so against social media. I really didn't want to like get into all of that, to like working with one of our teams within our IT department and talking about like open, APIs and like all this digital jargon that I know now, and I don't necessarily want to know it, but, all the tools we have at our disposal have come so far. And, I think it's really important for people to be able to keep up with that, and it's ever changing. But, I don't want you all to lose sight of that. And I think you all know that you all are probably 100 times more digital savvy than I am. And, I even look at my manager now, and, I think, people who are 10, 20 years older than me, I see them struggling a little bit. And I think it's constantly going to be keeping up with technology, the capabilities we have in front of us and understanding how we can utilize them for our organizations. But I think it's balancing it too with, things cost money, and how easily can you implement things? And it's hard to change things up every 6 months. So, like once you find something, you really need to know that it's going to work for your organization, you can stick with it, or it can evolve with you. So that's one thing when we redesigned our intranet. Throughout the project, it was about a 2-year project. We did a lot of surveying and focus groups in the front end, like the first year, and then the second year was really looking into the technology that could get us to where we wanted to go. But I can't tell you how many times people told me intranets are dead. Like, why are we building a new intranet? And it's like, well, it's like a word to talk about it, but it's really not an intranet. So we, our project team ended up calling it the associate portal. And it's a lot more interactive, and we're going to be integrating a lot of the programs we use throughout Riches into this eventually. But we have a whole roadmap. It's constantly evolving. What you see here on the screen is actually completely different than the homepage we launched with back in May. We've constantly been adding new features, looking at the data to understand how we can change things, how they appear on the homepage so that they perform better, how can we make content better. So one thing I want to bring up in association with that is the data. Like, understanding data and analytics, it's someplace I need to get better at too, but I think that'll be something really important for all of you to understand how data and analytics can really help communications and make your messaging better. So last week I was looking at this 2020 Reagan survey of internal communicators, where we're headed. So it was this report. They had done some surveying with a bunch of internal communicators, and specific to the whole COVID crisis. Like, COVID has just like blown up communications, right, in every organization. You may have had a plan at the beginning of 2020, but it is nothing like what you imagined it would be now. So I wanted to share 2 different things I found in this report with you because I think they're really interesting. But which technologies do you plan to invest more in the next 6 months? So all of these things listed here, I was actually very happy to see intranets at the top, because I'm like, we just redid ours and we will continue to invest more into it. But all of these things, mobile apps, virtual videos, internal podcasts, are all things that Riches has been doing at least for the past year, or looking into. I think there are more channels than ever for people to be able to communicate with. I think when you think about communicating to customers externally, it's very different than communicating with your audience internally. So we've tried a couple things. We launched an internal podcast. It's been a little bit of a lift to get it off the ground, but I think I wanted to share this because a lot of this has technical implications, right? And I look at our team, and we have someone who's just a couple years out of college, and she's really led a lot of these projects, especially on the technical side. And I think that's what all of you have the benefit of, growing up with technology, unlike even I did coming out of college, 13 years ago. And it's so second nature. And I think all of you really need to embrace that and think about, when you join a team, that's one of the things that's really going to be a benefit to it. So I don't want you to lose sight of that. I'm sure a lot of you, in terms of video, it's like second nature. A lot of you may be creating video in your personal time. To me, it's a little more difficult, but I've embraced it and learned how to do what I can with video, and working with coworkers on making things happen. But I think that'll really be a benefit for all of you. So these are I want to share this because it's more on the technology side, but I thought this was interesting too. Which of the following do you anticipate communicating the most about the rest of the year? And just these topics are very in line with at least what Riches is looking at doing. But I didn't want to lose sight that as much as you can have like a great communications channel, it all comes back to the message that you're sharing and creating a dynamic, transparent, clear message for people to understand. And when I share all this, it's really in the view of internal communications. It's kind of been where my head's been at the past couple of years. But this is really in line with what I'm seeing in my job and talking to other people in the industry. So, COVID has changed a lot, but it's been a really interesting year. And you talk about COVID-19 in general, and it's, you're basically in crisis communications mode, which is really something I haven't dealt with in my career. So it's been a really big learning curve, but also a really big opportunity to learn a lot more, especially from my coworkers. So I'm gonna pause there because I feel like I just went through a lot, but are there any questions right now? And then I can kind of get into some more advice.
If anybody has any questions, they can unmute themselves and ask, or you can type it into the chat and we can read it out loud.
All right, I'll keep going. So, in thinking about some of the things I wanted to share with all of you, and I touched on a couple of these things throughout my talk so far, but the first thing is content is king. So, I don't want you to lose sight. It's all about storytelling, and when we usually have an intern every semester, it hasn't happened this year with COVID, but I've had the opportunity to look at a lot of resumes, read a lot of writing samples, and I can't tell you how much we put into someone who can just write concisely and is a good writer and communicator. So that's like within the writing samples, but also how someone communicates when they come in for an interview. That's really important and something that will never change. It doesn't matter how much technology there is or how many channels you have to communicate. It's all about the clarity of your message and creating dynamic and compelling content to share with your audiences. So don't lose sight of that. And if you're not a great writer now or storyteller, work on it. One of the things we always tell people is read more if you feel like you're kind of lacking in that area. Watch movies. How are stories being told on TV shows and movies? I think we always think about books, but I really appreciate the storytelling when it's in movie or TV form too. So pay a little closer attention to that if you feel like that isn't a strength of yours. Also, be curious. I think that's really important, learning other perspectives, point of view. What are other companies doing that we could be doing? I've always found it really interesting to make connections. But, if you have the opportunity to talk to someone about what they're doing at their company, or, being in college, having coffee with someone in the professional world, maybe they work at a company or have a job that you're really interested in, make the connection. Maybe it's not going to get coffee, but maybe now it's a Zoom call, or maybe you can just exchange emails and get a little perspective. But I don't think you can discount that. And again, going back to my earlier days in PRSA and making connections and how they really paid off over the years and getting the jobs that I've had, and making friends and keeping those friendships through the years. It's been everything. But I think, I have here to get experience. One thing I always tell college students when I talk to them is you need to get some sort of experience outside of your classroom work. And I know that is sometimes easier said than done. That is not lost on me. Some people are, have jobs, they're trying to pay to get through college. I totally understand that. But if you can find some time to do volunteer work, and if you want to be in communications or PR, maybe that is for a nonprofit and helping them promote an upcoming event or getting involved on a committee. But I think there's probably a lot of opportunity at your college to get involved in different groups. When I was in college, they did have a PRSSA group, but it wasn't like super organized and they didn't meet a lot. But I was an ad club, so that was an awesome experience. I don't know if there was like a larger organization that it was a part of. I don't know what the name of it was. I know there was, but every year Ad Club got a campaign from this organization, and we built a whole advertising campaign around something. And at the end of the year, we traveled to New York City to pitch our idea to this organization and whoever the client was. So like the one year, Coca-Cola was the client. So some of their executives were there. And just that experience was really great. Not only did I learn a lot, but to be able to meet people who were in other majors that I didn't have classes with. Some of those people have become my lifelong friends too. So that was great. But the last thing I will mention is internship. So, definitely don't discount the fact of getting experience within clubs. But if you can too, look into internships. Like, I don't think there's any better way to get real world experience than actually have an internship, which really gives you insight into what the real world is like. And I think internships can go two ways. You can have an internship and be like, I really love that and that's what I want to do. Or you could be like, I don't think I really like that field or that specific thing I was doing. And then you can look for something else. But regardless of if you like it or not, it's a great way to build your resume and really get you closer to what you might want to be doing after you graduate. So that's about it. I don't know if anybody has questions, or I can go into something further.
So we do have a question in the chat from Isabella. She asked, she said it can be scary and overall stressful going into the field straight out of college. What are some tips to help prepare us or make ourselves a little less nervous?
Yeah, I think I can relate with that feeling, because I think that's how I felt when I got my first job, when I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing here. It's like the whole imposter syndrome. But I think, again, if you can get internship experience, I think, one thing we always look at interns is some of these interns don't even know, and like, I think this is across the board, no matter what internship, no matter what field you're looking at, like, don't know how to use our email system, which is Microsoft Outlook, So it's like just learning typical like office, everyday sort of things, and getting to learn an office environment. Granted, who knows if there'll ever be a traditional office environment again, because I've been working remote since March, and I think going back to work will look very different, right? So I think that's another thing that you're all up against. But I think just getting comfortable in more of that professional setting. So again, I think networking, just having simple conversations with professionals can make you feel a little bit more comfortable in a real world setting. And again, internships, because I think you get a better sense of like what a day-to-day real world experience looks like. So I don't think you can discount that. And if you can't get an internship, again, like, see if there's a volunteer opportunity that could get you into maybe an office setting, or working with a group of professionals that you can kind of start to learn the norms per se of working in a more professional environment. I think a lot of it is just like those softer interpersonal skills, right? That it doesn't matter what field you're in, that we all have to overcome when we're starting a new job. So, I mean, take like your job out of it. It's just, walking into the office every day and making small talk and all of that. I think we all have to overcome, but it's something that definitely gets easier when you can practice almost a little bit and having those conversations with people.
Thank you. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? I don't see one in the chat, but if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself.
Before we go, can I have everybody share in the chat what their majors are?
Absolutely.
I have a question. So I didn't get to introduce myself at the beginning, but my name is John Fichter. I'm the vice president, and I understand you work for Rich Products, and does that include PR?
Yeah, so can you see my screen still? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. There we go. Yeah, so our department at within Riches kind of oversees a lot, right? We do external and internal, so it does include PR. I will say that when I started, PR and external communications wasn't as much of a focus for the organization, but I've definitely seen a shift over maybe like the last year of PR becoming a little bit more of a focus. Social media too was kind of interesting because when I started it was a little over 4 years ago. It was something that corporate communications owned, but obviously like social media is a huge selling point, like reaching our customers. And our sales and marketing teams really weren't leveraging social media on their end to reach customers. A lot of work, a couple years ago, we rebranded Riches. And during that time, there was a lot of work around, social media and how can we start to bring, corporate communications, sales and marketing together to create this holistic strategy where we're all contributing on all the platforms. So that work has really come a long way in terms of social media. But PR too, we were very reactive, like if people came to us for stories, we would kind of see, like, are people internally interested in, being interviewed and participating? Very little, kind of proactive PR was taking place. But like I said, that's kind of shifted a little bit over the past year or so. Good question. Seems like we have a lot of public relations people here with us today. Thanks for telling me where you're coming from.
So I have a quick question, if you don't mind. You've had a lot of in-house experience, but you also talked about your agency experience with an internship. So would you go back to agency? And if not, what do you love so much about working in-house?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, especially because one of our newer team members at Riches, she came from agency life for like a long time. And I will say I really liked agency experience, especially in internships, right? Because you get to see, what various clients are doing that span like different industries, which is another thing like I love about communications, right? Like you could love communications, but say like you're really into music, like you could find a record label to do communications for, right? Like it's kind of bridging your passions between your personal and professional life. But I think agency work is like an awesome place to start, like especially out of college. Because of that, you get a wealth of various experience with different clients. One client may be really heavy and they want you to build a social media strategy, or another one may be more into traditional PR. So I think it just kind of runs the gamut, especially if you find an agency that really kind of fits, you know, like you'll be getting that different experience. But going into in-house, I really love in-house because you really get to like just dive in, right? And with internal communication specifically, like you're surrounded by the people you work for and they're your target audience. And it's like you can tap into them whenever you need, whether it's like just informal feedback or doing focus groups. And it's almost like you just get to deep dive and really get to know this one organization, what makes it tick. You're seeing the values and your strategy come to life right before your eyes, and then figuring out how to communicate that. I just feel like it's so much more intimate really than, you know, being in an agency, but I think they both definitely have their pros and cons, right? When you're in-house, you're just working for the one company, and you know, most likely you're coming into a strategy already being there, so you're helping execute that. But hopefully over the years, kind of where I got with building out our internal communications channels, you really get to start to make stuff your own, but it may take a little bit longer. You know, I think on the agency side, it's a lot of people will bring you in like, I need you to build something and execute on it right away, you know? So things are probably, you know, things are more fast paced, I think, at agencies too. But right now in my career, I really love being in-house. And I will say I did interview at a couple agencies out when I graduated from college, and I wasn't offered those positions, but if I was, I would have taken it in a second because I think there is a ton of value there. That's a good question.
Thank you for answering that. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right, I don't see any right now, but is there a good way, would you encourage students to connect with you on LinkedIn if they have any questions after?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out to me. I will also put my email in the chat. I should have put that on the final slide, but honestly, feel free to reach out to me. I love talking with students and giving advice. Hopefully you found some of this helpful, but I felt like I just talked the whole time. But no, I really I oversaw our interns at Riches for the first couple of years I worked at Riches, and I loved it so much just because mainly like I loved my internships, and just getting that experience I think is so valuable. So in any way that I can help, feel free to reach out. And especially if any of you are looking for internships or live in the Buffalo area or anything like that, you know, I can reach out to my network here and see what I can do. So
That's great. Thank you so much.
yep, but good luck to everybody. Like I said, I guess I really didn't think about it, but it's like for those of you graduating, you know, it's everybody's entering a whole different working world, and it's definitely an extra layer that you all have to figure out. You know, I know all, at least at Riches, all our interviews and the whole process has been virtual, which is so different than what we've all experienced in the past. So hang in there, you'll get through it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you spending a little bit of your evening with us and all of that fantastic advice and all of your experiences. I think that we can all take so much away from it.
Thanks, and best of luck to all of you. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out after.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, you as well.
Thank you.